What's going on, guys? My name is Manectric, coach of the Tampa Bay Luxrays, and today I'm bringing you guys our Week 2 Team Builder for the GBA Season 6. This week we're going up against Tom Z, aka the previous host for the GBA Power Rankings. Now, just to inform people who may have not watched the previous video that I uploaded about me being in the GBA, I inherited Gubstastic's team. Like I said, he had to drop out due to personal issues. That's all covered in that video. If you guys want to see the full draft, if you are somehow unaware, then it is all covered in that video. I got our standings in there, and just a general information about me being in the GBA and such. But there's enough on that. Let's just quickly get into Tom's team. So real quick, you'll see here he has a Sylveon, Starmie, Cobalion, triggered, Mamoswine, Arcanine, Jellicent, Noivern, Machamp, Xatu, Luxray, and Mega Aerodactyl. So, looking at his team, he's got a lot of pretty speedy threats. He's got things like the Starmie, like the Noivern, and the Mega Aerodactyl. He's got a lot of semi-bulky things that aren't entirely slow. Arcanine's got a good base speed. Jellicent's not great, but it does outspeed a few things on my team and can potentially taunt them before my bulk and kind of shut down my bulk. Luxray is actually going to be a little bit of an issue just because it's a good pivot for my team in general. Sylveon is going to be a problem. My team doesn't deal with fairies all too well. Granted, I do have Bronzong, but we'll get into that when we get there. And Mamoswine is also just a big threat. So his team is very, very well put together. He's got a few Stealth Rockers he could bring. I gotta be careful with status and my own rocks because of that Xatu. But I'm just going to go over my team now. This was my first time building with this team. I mean, technically it was my second time building with this team because I did actually have a previous draft before this. But this is like the first final product that I've created when team building with this team. I did, of course, look at it, and I did make the one transfer, being dropping Gigalith and picking up Hitmonchan. But this is going to be the first time that I've actually built and used a team that I had absolutely no part in. So, first up, we got our Protection XL. Thank you, Kyle, for that nickname. The Bronzong, holding the Cobra Berry. This is going to be my best switch into a few things he has on his team. Now, it's going to be kind of pressured because it's going to be kind of it's going to be switching into a plethora of different things. It's my Mega Aerodactyl switching. With the Cobra Berry, I can take 2 Crunches. With the Cobra Berry, I take 2 Life Orb knockoffs from the Mamoswine, and of course I'm immune to the Earthquake with Levitate, and I resist his Ice Stab. And with being physically defensive, I'm just able to take 2 hits very well. Gyro Ball, Earthquake, Toxic, and Stealth Rock, relatively standard set. Gyro Ball is for his, like I said, he has some speedy threats, things like Noivern. It can straight up OHKO a Mega Aerodactyl, because it is very fast. Does a little bit of damage to Sylveon, not a ton, because Sylveon's relatively slow and he's likely going to be physically defensive. Could potentially be Specs as well, which would be scary, but I'm not just going to run Heavy Slam just for the Sylveon. It hits his entire team a little bit better. Stealth Rock is just because I need a Stealth Rocker, and not necessarily that I need one, but I would like rocks versus his team. He has a few weaknesses to them, being the Mega Aerodactyl, the Xatu. Of course, he could bounce them back with that, but it is weak to him. If I set it up before it comes in, that'd be very nice. The Noivern's weak to it, Arcanine's weak to it. He does have some decent hazard removal. He's got Starmie, which is a very good spinner, and then he's got Mega Aerodactyl, and I believe Xatu can defog as well. I mean, Xatu can defog. I think you gotta run like a weird ability or whatever, but it's there. So rocks are going to be very useful for his team. It just gets chip damage on a lot of different things. Being able to wear down his team is going to be very nice because if I'm pressuring his team and forcing him to switch, I can gain momentum with some of the Volturn that I have and just make it so that my late game cleaners will be able to do their job very well. Toxic is to hit the things that resist my other moves. Well, let's get into Earthquake first. Earthquake is so that I'm not set up fodder to the Cobalion. Otherwise, I cannot touch Cobalion, and that's going to be an issue. If he brings Magnetize on Cobalion, then good for him, but that does limit his move pool a little bit, which is going to be very nice. Earthquake is able to hit the Arcanine. Granted, it won't do a lot because Arcanine is very bulky, and I'm not invested in attack on my Bronzong. And Earthquake will be able to hit the Luxray. Same thing, not going to do a lot, but it is at least something to get a little bit more damage off, which is very nice. But like I said, the main reason Earthquake is there is so that I am not set up fodder to the Cobalion, because Cobalion is a little bit of an issue to my team, and it is just a scary Pokemon in general. And moving on to Toxic. Toxic is to hit the things that I can't really touch too much. Luxray, while it would kind of suck to give it Guts if he is Guts, I would like to wear that down, and I do have a decent switch in that I'll showcase a little bit later. Same with Machamp. Same exact thing as Machamp. He might not want to switch into Machamp on my Bronzong because I could be carrying something like Zen Headbutt or Psychic that can do a decent amount of damage to it. Toxic is very nice to hit on the Jellicent. If he has Taunt, then that'll be unfortunate, but I can potentially get the Toxic off as he switches into Jellicent, and that'd be very nice. Toxicking the Arcanine would be big because I see that as being one of his primary switch-ins to Bronzong, being able to switch in, take any hit, and then threaten me out immediately. And then being able to Toxic the Sylveon, because like I said, Gyro Ball's not going to be doing a ton of damage if that is a defensive Sylveon. So being able to Toxic it is going to be very nice. I can force him to go for Heal Bell, gain myself a little bit of momentum by making a switch out into something that threatens Sylveon. So that is the moveset for the Bronzong. Like I said, physically defensive just to take on the Mega Aerodactyl, the Mamoswine. I can still take any hit from the Sylveon relatively well. Still take on the Noivern decently, though Flamethrower is, I believe, a 2 KO. So that is why I have this Bronzong set. Puts in a good amount of work versus his team. If I can keep rocks up, then that would be very good for me. Or if I can at least pressure him to defog, if he brings like a defog Mega Arrow or a defog Xatu, then that would be very nice. Moving on from there, we have our boy Lemon. Shout out to Kyle, just because this is Kyle's thing, if you guys don't know. Lemon the Azumarill. We're bringing a Belly Drum Azumarill this week. This is one of the first things I noticed that did a lot of work to his team. Azumarill forces a lot of switches. Azumarill forces out something like the Mamoswine potentially. He could stay in an Earthquake me just because he doesn't want to risk me going for a setup move like something like Belly Drum, and he might do that, but even if he gets that wrong and I go for Aquajet, then I'm doing a lot of damage to it. Kind of forces out the Arcanine. He could just stay in and burn me, but that would be risky because I could be Lumberry. I could just go for an Aquajet and do a lot of damage to it. If he's weakened, I can, do that to him. It's complete setup fodder to Jellicent. If Jellicent does not have Energy Ball or Giga Drain, then it cannot touch me. I should be able to outspeed it. As you guys can see, I have 100 base speed EVs. That outspeeds Jellicent by multiple points. I actually outspeeded Sylveon by a few points as well, just because I like to speed creep. I should be able to outspeed Jellicent unless he's running a very good amount of speed on his Jellicent, and that would be very nice, because once I'm behind a sub, he can't burn me. The only thing he can really break my sub is with an Energy Ball. So that is what we have there. It forces out the Noivern. If he's choice locked into a dragon move, then I click Belly Drum, and it's going to be very bad for him. Xatu cannot do too much to me. Giga Drain does not do a lot to me. Thunder Wave would be annoying, but I will still be able to hopefully break through and still get massive damage on his team. Luxray is a little bit of an issue. I know this, but I do have my response to Luxray, and I hopefully will be able to deal with it accordingly. And then it forces out his Mega Aerodactyl. I really don't think he's going to stay in on an Azumarill unless he absolutely has to, unless he's fearing the Belly Drum 100% and he has no other option. And if that situation arises, I should be able to sense that he is put into a bad spot, and he may do that. But even then, he has the chance to miss Stone Edge, which is his hardest hitting move. Aerial Ace. I can take an Aerial Ace, get off my Belly Drum, get my Citrus, and then knock him out with an Aquajet on the next turn. So Belly Jet Azumarill is just really, really good versus his team. I was originally going to run Knockoff over Sub to hit the Jellicent, but at +6 I knock out Jellicent anyway with a Play Rough. I have the potential to knock out a lot of things. This is also good. I ran a few calcs versus Sylveon. If he is an offensive Sylveon, then +6 Aquajet knocks it out. If he is a defensive Sylveon, then +6 Aquajet will not knock it out, but A, I should be able to outspeed it and knock it out with the Play Rough, and a defensive Sylveon will not be able to do enough to my Azumarill to the point where if I went for Belly Drum, got my Citrus, and laid at 75% of my HP, a Hyper Voice will not be able to knock me out afterwards. So that is why I am doing that. Obviously, Sub, I know like Hyper Voice hits behind a Sub, so I am not going to do that versus a Sylveon, but if I find out that that is a defensive Sylveon, then I can set up a Belly Drum against it, assuming I have enough HP. So this is a very dangerous setup sweeper to his team. And moving on from that, the next mon we are going to go over is our Mega Manectric. There's not a lot to go over here. We have a very standard move set. This is pretty much the standard Mega Manectric set in OU, even though it hasn't really been used too much in OU because electric types overall just haven't been super common there. The only thing kind of unique is of course the EV spread. This is enough speed to outspeed a timid Noivern, which is very nice because I will outspeed the entirety of his team, bar the Mega Aerodactyl, and then bar a couple potential Scarfers. Like if he brings Scarf Mammothline, he will be able to outspeed me. Scarf Machamp actually does not outspeed me, which is very nice, but this also applies a good amount of pressure to his team because it outspeeds and knocks out the Starmie. It can hit the Cobalion with a Flamethrower to a KO with that, or I can just go for a Volt Switch, gain myself momentum. Arcanine I can gain momentum against. Jellicent it does massive damage to and does not get Mirror Coat, one of the few bulky waters that does not get Mirror Coat. Can knock out the Noivern with an HP Ice, can Volt Switch out on the Machamp, can knock out the Xatu, can Volt Switch out on the Luxray, and I can potentially knock out the Mega Aerodactyl. And if I come in with my Mega Manectric and get an Intimidate off on the Mega Aerodactyl, it cannot knock me out with any Earthquake bar crit, which is very nice. Of course, he does have his stops to it. The one thing I kind of don't like about this is Mammothline is pretty much just a hard stop to it. Flamethrower does not do enough, especially if he's Assault Vest, I'm going to do nothing to it, and then that gives him the opportunity to hit something very hard on my team. If he predicts the Bronzong to come in, goes for knockoff, then okay, I'll still be able to take 2 and then get up rocks or fire off a Gyro Ball, but that would just be kind of annoying to lose my Colbur Berry because it could be nice to take a Crunch from Mega Aerodactyl later on. But bar that and kind of bar the Sylveon, Mega Manectric puts in a lot of work. If that's an offensive Sylveon, like a Spec Sylveon, any chip damage is fine, and that gives me a free switch out into something like my Bronzong, like I said, set up rocks, or even go out into my Amoonguss, hit something with a Spore or a Sludge Bomb. And the Mammothline, which I can hopefully deal with in other ways, probably offensively, because it's very difficult to check defensively, even though I do have one of the better switch-ins being Bronzong. So, now that we have covered Mega Manectric, we are now going to move on to the Raver, the Amoonguss. Shout out to Shroom Raver. We have Sludge Bomb, Giga Drain, Hidden Power, Fire, and Spore. Again, a relatively standard set on this, but I feel like this is a set that is probably the most effective. I was going to run Clear Smog over Hidden Power Fire, because Hidden Power Fire really only hits the Cobalion. Of course it hits Mammothline, but I have Giga Drain for that anyway, and it's going to have Thick Fat, because why wouldn't you? I have a Manectric, you're probably going to bring Thick Fat. I want Hidden Power Fire mostly just so, once again, Cobalion does not become setup fodder to me. If I brought Clear Smog over Hidden Power Fire and he had Taunt, he would be able to shut me down and then just be able to set up all over me. If he is a sub variant, I obviously can't Spore behind a sub and he would be able to set up on me there. Having Hidden Power Fire allows me to break a sub from Cobalion. I am fully physically defensive, so I can even take +2 Iron Heads relatively well still. Obviously there's a flinch chance, but I am 3 KO'd, not 2 KO'd, and I can potentially pull an aggressive switch out into my Mega Manectric, and I don't think he's going to predict that I go for close combat, because why would you close combat in Amoonguss, lower your defenses, and then take more from a Hidden Power Fire? So if he does, then props to him, but that is a relatively aggressive play. I also do have my physically defensive Bronzong to kind of, as a decent middle play, regardless of what he does, so that's very nice as well. And Amoonguss is just very nice for his team overall. I can take an Aerial Ace from the Mega Aerodactyl relatively easily and just hit that thing with a Spore. I can put pretty much anything to sleep, bar of course the Xatu, which will bounce it back. Granted I am a grass type, so I will be immune. And anytime that I think the Xatu is coming in, I can click Sludge Bomb and potentially get a poison on that, wear that down, which would be very, very nice. I can beat the Jellicent 1v1, assuming it is not a especially defensive Jellicent. It doesn't take a lot from my Giga Drain. I think it does like 30 to like 37%, but I'll be getting a lot of that health back. I'll be able to keep spamming it against him. I can predict a recover at some point, go out. No, I'm a Manectric. It's good versus Starmie. If he's running Psyshock, I take any hit no matter what. I can take hits from the Sylveon very well. This is probably going to be my primary switch into Sylveon, because the only way he can 2 KO me is if he is Specs. Maybe if he is Life Orb as well, but I'll see immediately if he's Life Orb or not. The only way he can 2 KO me is if he's Specs, and even then it's barely. And even then I believe it is a roll. So he can go for the Psyshock. I'll take over half. I'll be like, oh shit, that's Specs. Let's go Bronzong. So I can go out into Bronzong, get at my Stealth Rock, my Amoonguss got Regenerator back, and I am once again a good switch into things, which is a very nice thing about Amoonguss that I like, and it just makes it a very good pivot for his team overall. I can status something. Being able to put something to sleep means that I can potentially set up better with my Azumarill, which would be wonderful. And it's just, like I said, very good pivot for his team, very good stop to a lot of his offensive threats, and I'm hoping that it sticks around for a little while. And anything that I can't Spore, like maybe he brings like a Safety Goggles Arcanine, I can hit that with a Sludge Bomb, potentially get a poison off, and that would be wonderful. So with that out of the way, let's move on to another very big win condition. We have Duckbill Burb, the Percygon Z, with Tri-Attack, Thunderbolt, Trick, and as you can see here, we got Hyper Beam up in here. That is because the only moves I need for his team are Tri-Attack and Thunderbolt. Nothing on his team appreciates taking a Tri-Attack aside from the Jellicent, which is of course immune. Like, his resist, Mega Aerodactyl does not want to switch in on a Tri-Attack. It's going to take a lot, and it does want the secondary status. Cobalion is not super specially defensive, does not necessarily want to switch it in, and like I said, does not want any of the statuses. And then Sylveon can kind of switch in. That's where Hyper Beam comes into play. Hyper Beam does about 70 to 85% on a physically defensive Sylveon, or just a max HP Sylveon, which is really nice. I was originally going to run like mixed with Double Edge, but that just wasn't worth it. And like I said, just Tri-Attack and Thunderbolt hit his entire team. His one decent switch in a Tri-Attack I hit super effectively with Thunderbolt, so that's super fine. I was originally going to run Psyshock instead of Trick, just to hit potentially like an Assault Vest Machamp, but I determined that Trick was a little bit better. Like, suppose it's kind of late game, and I need something crippled so that I can set up with my Azumarill, and he has a Sylveon left. I can trick that thing a Scarf, maybe lock it into Wish, and then I can just spam Tri-Attack. I can potentially trick, like, if I ever see that it is a good time to trick something, give something a Scarf, that'd be very nice. I could even trick Jellicent if I wanted to. Like, suppose I outspeed the rest of his team naturally anyway, maybe Mega Aerodactyl's gone, maybe Noivern's gone, or Noivern is not a threat anymore, then I can just trick something a Scarf and cripple it so that I can potentially set up later on with other things, or I can just cripple it for the sake of crippling it and making it a lot easier to deal with. So that's our Percygon Z. Not super crazy. Like I said, Hyper Beam is pretty much the only thing that's kind of unique on this, just because, again, I didn't need the extra move coverage. I'm covered with Tri-Attack, Thunderbolt. Let's get something up there that I can at least threaten his team a little bit with, because Adaptability Hyper Beam just... You don't want to switch in on that, ever. So that is our Percygon Z. Also, max speed, timid with this much speed. This is so that I can outspeed a Jolly Mega Aerodactyl. Mega Aero is ridiculously fast, but with this amount of speed investment with the Scarf, I will be able to outspeed it no matter what. So the next mon we are going to talk about now is our Mandibuzz, appropriately nicknamed Mandibuzz. As you can see, we have Big Pecs. That's because he has literally no powder or weather on his team, and I have no weather on my team, so there's no point in bringing Overcoat because it does literally nothing for me. So I can't get defense trapped by a Mega Aerodactyl's Crunch and then have him knock me out with Stone Edge afterwards. So that's kind of nice. Leftovers over anything else because I don't really need a berry. I take a Stone Edge from Mega Aerodactyl anyway, can get off big damage with a Foul Play. Speaking of Foul Play, moveset is, of course, Foul Play, U-Turn, Toxic, and Roost. I was originally going to run Taunt so that I can shut down things like the Jellicent, but it would pretty much only be for the Jellicent. I would rather just hit that thing with the Toxic and then U-Turn out. Also, if I have Taunt over U-Turn, then I can't touch the Cobalion and I can't gain myself initiative over Cobalion. I was originally going to run Whirlwind, so again, Cobalion couldn't set up on me, but I decided that U-Turn was overall better, because this is also one of my primary switch-ins into a Starmie. If it is Life Orb, I am not 2 KO'd by any set other than Life Orb Analytic, which, with Hyper Beam. Not Hyper Beam, idiot. Hydro Pump. No, Ice Beam. Jesus Christ. I mixed up, the H and then the beam never mind. So, it's pretty much my only switch into Starmie. I can potentially pivot around it, predict what move he is going to go for, whether it be an Ice Beam or a Psyshock or a Hydro Pump, because I do have switch-ins to all of those individual moves. Together, they're a problem. And I do have ways to offensively check the Starmie. Like I said, if it's running Psyshock, Amoonguss takes any hit, hits it with a Giga Drain and hurts it a lot. Mega Manectric outspeeds it and kills it. This lives any hit can U-turn out on it, which is very nice. You with the Scarf outspeed it, hit it with a T-Bolt or Tri-Attack. Azumarill kind of threatens it. He won't know if I'm AV, he won't want to stay in, even if he has Thunderbolt. If I'm AV, I take it easily and can knock him out with a knockoff. So, while Starmie threatens me a lot and has the potential to run through my team, I'm going to try not to let it run through my team, because I have a lot of offensive checks to it, like I just mentioned, and depending on the move he goes for, depending if I predict his analytic properly, like if I predict what move he goes for and I waste his analytic, then that'd be very good, because after an analytic boost I can stay in with Mandibuzz and just kind of 1v1 it, which would be very nice. I'm hoping he brings Natural Cure. I'm both hoping he brings Natural Cure and I don't, because it'd be nice to status it, but it would also be nice to have a reliable switch in every single time, because I'm not too OK'd by Thunderbolt or Ice Beam. So that is our Mandibuzz, and that is the team that we are going to bring against Tom. I hope you guys enjoyed. I'm very excited for this, also very nervous for this, because there's a lot on this. I feel like there's a little bit of pressure on, just because I'm new to the league and I really want to win. So I'm kind of pressuring myself as well, because I would really like to, you know, come in as the new guy and then end up a champion. So let's see if we can do that, and let's see if we can start with this match right here. So thank you guys very much for watching. I hope you all enjoyed, and I will see you guys in the match that should be uploaded relatively soon after this is uploaded. Sundays, of course, are our upload days. So once again, thank you very much, and I'll see you then.